Welcome to Episode 1, Foundations, Why NIST 800-53 Still Anchors Real Programs. This opening discussion sets the stage for how an old but continually refined framework remains at the center of modern security practice. Many learners start their journey by hearing about the National Institute of Standards and Technology, but may not realize how its catalog of controls quietly shapes nearly every cybersecurity program in use today. By grounding a program in tested structure, NIST 853 turns broad ideas like confidentiality, integrity, and availability into practical guardrails. Understanding why this course matters begins with understanding how these principles have endured through decades of evolving threats and technologies. Across this series, you will see how each requirement supports not compliance for its own sake, but the stability of real organizations protecting real data. Building on that foundation, it helps to first grasp what NIST 853 truly represents. It is not just a list of rules, but a comprehensive catalog of safeguards grouped to address both information and operational risk. NIST designed it to be scalable, meaning a small nonprofit or a large federal agency can both use it effectively. Imagine a checklist that, instead of telling you what to buy, teaches you how to think about your protection goals. That is the idea behind this document. It provides a structured vocabulary and logical flow for designing, assessing, and improving security measures. When people say they are aligned to NIST, they are usually talking about this very publication and its ability to adapt across missions. From there, the security objectives at the heart of NIST 853 reveal its design intent. Each control ultimately traces back to protecting data's confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The intent was never to make a bureaucratic system, but to define how trust can be preserved as technology evolves. For example, an organization might ensure the confidentiality of personnel files through encryption, maintain integrity by limiting who can edit them, and guarantee availability by keeping backups ready. When you recognize that each requirement maps to these timeless objectives, the document feels less like a rulebook and more like a translation of core values into concrete expectations. This focus on objectives ensures that even as tools change, the underlying purpose remains stable. Extending that thought, the controls within NIST 800-53 should be seen as outcomes, not checklists. Many teams fall into the trap of treating them as boxes to mark, losing sight of what each control intends to achieve. In practice, a control that requires access reviews does not simply want a log of names, it wants assurance that only the right people retain access. Seeing controls as outcomes means asking, what condition must exist for this safeguard to be effective? For instance, documenting an incident response plan satisfies a requirement, but testing it turns it into proof of readiness. Framing controls this way helps programs mature from paperwork to protection. Continuing with that mindset, it becomes clear why Revision 5 remains essential even years after publication. Each revision reflects new understanding of technology, risk, and organizational interdependence. Revision 5 integrated privacy considerations alongside security, emphasizing that personal data protection is not separate from cybersecurity. It also aligned more closely with international standards, creating shared language for global collaboration. Some may wonder why we keep returning to this same framework. The reason is stability with evolution. Each revision adds relevance without discarding what already works. That balance is what keeps it the anchor for both government and industry. In that same spirit, the control families organize requirements into coherent program capabilities. Families such as access control, incident response, and system and communications protection represent disciplines that together form a complete defense. Thinking of these families as departments in a living system helps visualize how policies and procedures interact. Access control policies feed into personnel management. Incident response ties into monitoring and training. When viewed this way, NIST 853 is not a stack of unrelated rules, but a map of how responsibilities fit together. A mature program shows strength in every family, not just one or two. Next, baselines translate ambition into appropriate risk posture. NIST defines 3 standard baselines, low, moderate, and high, that guide how many and which controls should apply. A small internal system may only need the low baseline, while a nationwide service supporting critical operations would adopt high. Choosing a baseline is about aligning resources to consequence, not inflating the program for show. In a sense, baselines are the compass pointing to proportional security. They keep organizations from both over-engineering and under-securing, focusing instead on a balance that matches actual exposure. Related to baselines, overlays exist to adjust expectations for sector realities. An overlay tailors the general framework to specific contexts like healthcare, energy, or defense. For instance, a healthcare overlay might emphasize patient privacy and safety, while an industrial one might highlight availability and physical safety. Overlays recognize that while the baseline gives a starting point, real environments differ. By applying overlays, organizations keep the consistency of NIST 853 while adding relevance for their missions. This approach avoids reinventing frameworks while still honoring unique needs. In the same way, parameters help customize control expectations responsibly. Many controls include placeholders like define frequency or specify roles. These parameters let organizations adjust how a requirement fits their size and risk. For example, a control might call for security reviews every defined period, leaving it to the program to set that period based on operational tempo. Parameters make the framework flexible but also accountable. Each must be justified and documented. In practice, parameter decisions become part of the program's character, showing auditors and leaders that choices were deliberate and traceable. Once parameters are set, implementation bridges policy to practice. Policies declare what must be done, but implementations prove how it is done. For example, a password policy might require complexity and rotation, while the implementation defines the technical controls enforcing those rules. Many programs falter here, stopping at policy creation without confirming execution. Linking the two means creating measurable, observable evidence of function. When people say make it real, this is what they mean: transforming intentions into operations that can be demonstrated, repeated, and improved. With implementation in motion, attention shifts to evidence, sampling, and sufficiency principles. Auditors and assessors look for proof that controls are not just written, but effective. Evidence may come from screenshots, logs, or interviews, but quality matters more than quantity. Sampling verifies consistency without reviewing every record. Sufficiency ensures that samples truly represent the control's operation. For example, showing one access review might not be enough. Showing several from different periods builds confidence. Understanding these evidence principles turns audits from anxiety into opportunity, an opportunity to verify maturity and refine processes. From there, continuous monitoring and meaningful metrics close the loop. Instead of waiting for annual audits, organizations now track key indicators of security health. Metrics like patch compliance rates, incident resolution time, or access change volume provide ongoing visibility. Continuous monitoring does not mean constant scrutiny, it means steady awareness. The goal is to detect drift early and correct before gaps widen. When done well, these measures feed directly into leadership reports and drive informed investment decisions. The cycle of monitor, measure, and improve keeps a program alive rather than static. Looking across different organization sizes, adoption tips help scale these ideas effectively. A small company might start by adopting a subset of controls and growing gradually, while a large enterprise may assign dedicated owners for every family. The principle remains the same: start with clarity, document choices, and focus on outcomes. Many find that aligning NIST 853 to existing business processes reduces friction. For instance, linking control reviews to quarterly planning cycles keeps everything manageable. Regardless of size, success depends on making the framework fit the culture, not forcing the culture to fit the framework. Finally, as you prepare to navigate the remaining episodes, remember that NIST 800-53 is both map and mirror. It reflects how your organization thinks about risk and provides a structured way to improve. Each upcoming discussion will unpack one aspect of building, operating, and sustaining a compliant yet practical program. The journey begins with understanding, purpose, continues through application, and matures through reflection. By seeing the framework not as a document, but as a living conversation between policy and practice, you can anchor your work in something that endures even as the field evolves. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.